Hi guys. Okay, what you're looking at here is some of the planted pine forests you find all over the South. And when I say all over, I mean all over. It's how they cultivate pine trees in a agricultural idea. They're planted in straight rows so that they can come in and harvest them. They're also designed so they make a deep bed of pine straw and it smothers out all this stuff like yopon and etc. So they get to come in and harvest the pine straw, harvest the trees, harvest the stumps, etc. And some people like them. Some people call them a green desert. But they're all over the South out here as a way of producing trees and etc. Well, today what we're going to talk about is some unique features and unique hazards of being in one of these planted pine forests. So stay with me. Okay, these planted pine forests usually are in straight lines, but this one's kind of got overgrown and you've got other stragglers that have popped up into it. They haven't come done in what's called a thinning cut, where they'll come through and take off all these little light ones. But if you're next to one of these and you're out, doing a camp or something like that, it's a ready source of material. One, pine straw for putting down a bed if you're a ground pounder and you're going to be sleeping on the ground. Tons of pine straw. But sift through it. Make sure you don't have other critters in there. Don't just scoop up a big armload. And also make sure you put some sort of barriers on the side to keep it located. Typically what I would do is I would take a pretty good limb and put on one side, the other side of me, one at the foot, one at the head, and fill it in with pine straw. Then get up there and lay down and crush it down and fill it up again 2 or 3 times till I got 1 hand thickness compressed. That's a good mattress. Springy, it's like being on a mattress at home. And should the ground get wet due to rain, it will not sop up through that thick and get me wet, so I'm okay. By putting these logs on the outside like this to form a coffin-shaped rectangle, it allows me to keep the pine straw from spreading away from me. Me go down in the middle halfway through the night, my hips on the cold ground, and the pine straw is out here at the side of me. I want to hold it in, so that's why I do it. So that's one great asset. The other one is ready source of firewood. All these little limbs that are up off the ground, these lower limbs, are smothered out and are just easy to pick up. Anything you're going to find on the ground like this is going to be easily turned into firewood. It's usually dead, graveyard dead if it's on the floor. And so that's a ready source of firewood. Now, do I build a fire in here? No. That pine straw is going to act like peat. If you build a fire on top of this pine straw, it's going to wick away. And you may have a flare-up over there, just like building in peat. So you got to dig down to bare dirt, at least a 6-8 foot circle before you build a fire. So a lot of times we don't build it here. We use this as a source, see, and then we'll go over there into regular woods where it's leaves and clear it out and make our fire in our camp there. But this is a resource. Another reason it's not a good idea to think about camping in here, them limbs I told you about, dead limbs fall all the time in here because the pine is being forced to grow as fast as possible to fight for sunlight. That's the reason they plant them so close together. That means it sheds these lower limbs very quickly, and so they'll shed on you very quickly in a thunderstorm as well. So you constantly got to keep that in mind of widowmakers. Should not be any great big limbs, but still it's constantly falling down on you. So the object of this game is I want to utilize planted pines as a resource. 1, pine straw for bedding and for a fire starting ability, etc. 2, ready source of firewood. 3, easy navigation and nature observation quietly. Walking through this pine straw is silent as being on a carpet. And what that means in English is I can very easily use this for game stalking in here, because I'm going to come in and very quietly ease through this. Now, most animals are not going to bed down in the pine forest because it's too open. But along the edge, that gives me a distinct advantage, because a lot of times deer and small game will be at the edge of it where it transitioned into a semi-hardwood forest or whatever, or an agricultural field or whatever, and sees these nice straight rows. I mean, I can walk almost silently on this stuff for looking for small game or even big game along the edge. So that's a distinct advantage in that. Another source, fat lighter. When one of these trees dies due to its conditions, especially here in the South, it's a pretty much guarantee that core is going to be fat wood. And that's one of the reasons that when they come and they harvest all of these trees and they clear cut, and then they first come in, they take out the pine straw. Then they come in and they clear cut. Then they leave that there for a season, then they come back and they harvest all the stumps, because now the stumps are fat wood. And that's what you go to that big box store and there's that box of fat wood sitting there. That's where it came from. It's a source of turpentine and etc. So it's a multi-resource available. And here in the South, these are everywhere. Now along the edge, you'll have a lot of edible plants like wood sorrel and stuff like that popping up along the edge, because sun can penetrate at the edge to the carpet, but once it gets further in, the pine straw will have smothered everything out, especially after they've done their clearing cuts. And it's just a deep, 10-inch bed of pine straw. So there isn't nothing in there. One of the reasons a lot of people call them green deserts, because once you walk into a 200 or 300 acre big plot, there's nothing in the middle. It's silent. That can also be an advantage for me, because I can cut through those to get to other woodlots and quietly emerge at a hunting area or some other thing. I can easily use it as a way in and out and not arouse a lot of noise, and therefore arouse a lot of animal awareness that I'm here if I'm hunting. So, your little homework for today. If you're living someplace that has these type of planted pine forests, and you find them a lot of times in national forests, big state parks and stuff like that, because it's something they use for rotational, okay? Go in and take a look at them. Explore the resources that are there. The different environments, like the dense woodland, the open woodland, the woodlot along the edge of agricultural field, planted pines, planted orchards of pecan or pear or apple, each have their own unique environment. And so by learning those and figuring out how I can best exploit those resources for my needs is just part of being a woodsman, is being able to transition from an open field to a planted woodlot to a unplanted wild woodlot, and knowing my resources and how I'm best going to utilize those resources. That's a big part of making the overall experience so enjoyable, because if you can seamlessly go from one to the other, you got no problem. What was it that Kephart said? A man that's able to travel and make himself comfortable in any weather, that's the secret. What's here? Well, these are the resources. If I needed to throw up a quick shelter, I don't want to camp in here, but how easy would it be in them planted pines to throw up a hammock, throw up a tarp, throw up a ridge, come in here and make a quick brush lean-to? My God, at the pine straw, especially if I didn't have to run a fire. Couldn't run a fire. I could very quickly come in, get a ridge pole up, start just finding all dead limbs, lean up against it, make a brush shelter, bury it 4 foot deep in pine straw in probably 2 hours, and have a quick shelter that could get me through the night. Little things like that make your life so much easier. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. Please hit that like and share button for me if you hadn't. And until next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.